The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
This is a training to do the self-assessment for the gifted monitoring. This will be the first year that'll be done through a web system. And for those of you who have been monitored previously for the special ed monitoring, it's the same website, which is up on the screen now, of www.leaderservices.com/CMCI. Once you type in that URL, you'll be brought to a web page that will look like this, where you'll type in your username and password that will be provided to you by your chairperson or by BSE. The username is going to be your AUN, and you'll be giving a password to type in for that login. Also, below the login will be resources that you'll be able to click on without logging into the website, one of them being this training video, along with any other documents that may be available to help you out with that process. Once you type in the username and password, you would click on the login option and ask whether to save that information or not. For the gifted monitoring, you'll not be using the dashboard feature. That's there for the special ed monitoring. As I said, this is the same website that is part of the special ed monitoring process. So you would click under the click here for monitorings for the gifted area, and then you'll get a screen that will look similar to this, where it will show past monitorings. It could show you might be monitoring for the regular facilitated self-assessment. You'll also be able to choose your gifted monitoring from this web screen. Also on this screen, if you wanted to change your district password, that's where to click here to edit your password, where you'd be able to change the password that you were assigned. If you wanted to be somewhere else for that process, you'd be able to do that as well. To get started, you would click on the gifted monitoring. It would then bring you to your main monitoring page. At the top, it'll tell you how many days you have until your self-assessment is due for your gifted monitoring. Scrolling down, it will walk you through the process and explain how to work with each page within the system. You'll also be able to telling you how to work on each page. So you'll either be able to, when you're working on each page, do a save and stay. So if you've typed in a couple of questions and you want to keep working with that process, the save and stay will save the information but keep you on the same screen. The save and go to next section does exactly that. It saves that information and goes on to the next page. There's also a link here if you need a blank copy of the monitoring instrument, if you wanted to see it on paper before you fill it out on the web page. Clicking here will take you to a page that you'll have a PDF document of the monitoring instrument that you could then print out and review prior to going through the process. Completing the process, we'll come back to that as we go through the monitoring screen, but that's basically where you can either generate a draft or submit the self-assessment to the state once you've completed it. So on this first page is just going to be some basic information about your district. You're going to fill in a contact name, title, and the most important part, and one of the required fields, is an email address. And the reason this is a required field and so important is from that point on, the email address that you're putting in here is going to be anytime like an update to the process happens. So if once you get monitored, if you get a corrective action plan and items are updated on that, you'll get notified via whatever email address is on here that there's a new document on the website for you to review. When the monitoring happens and the initial documents are out there, again, you'll get a notification to this email address. So a lot of the notifications come forward to that email address, so that's why it's required. Same thing here with the superintendent, and the superintendent is on there. It's for the same reason that you any of the updates. So like when the new documents are sent out, they'll go to the superintendent as well. So that email address, all the documents go out electronically now. So they'll go out to whatever email address you're going to put in here. So the two email addresses are required on there along with the names of the contact people. So you'll also try to find out, you can actually save and go to the next section or go to the next section without first putting them on there, but you will not be able to submit your self-assessment to the state until those email addresses are filled out for the process. So I can, to monitor through the website, I can do the save and go to the next section as I'm going to do here, or you can actually choose to do the flyout menu. So over on the left-hand side is a bar that if I click on, you'll see the different options for the monitoring. So the gifted education plan, personnel, special education, dual exceptionality, screening and evaluation, gifted educational placement, and gifted educational procedural safeguards are the different screens that exist through the system. So you don't have to do them in the prescribed order. You can bounce to the different ones and fill them out. So you can use that flyout menu and fill out the different sections as you go, or you can go through them section by section and click save and go to the next section and fill that out. So it really depends on how you want to do that. You have the two options to do that. So a little bit about the screen before we get to the questions. First of all, at the bottom, you have, before the anything times out, 40 minutes on each screen. So what that means is if I walked away at this point and was gone for an hour, for security purposes, after 40 minutes, actually at 38 minutes, it's going to give you a 2-minute warning. A little pop-up message will come up and say, you are going to time out. It's going to log you off in 2 minutes, and you'll get an option of click here to give me more time or log me off. But obviously, if you're not at your screen, it's going to automatically just log you off the system. So you'll see that counting down. But if you hit like a save or save and go to the next section, it automatically resets that timer. So that timer is for inactivity or not doing anything where you're doing a save or going on to another section. What that does mean though is if you're typing here, that doesn't register as activity to the system. So you actually have to hit a function like a save and go to the next section or save and stay to reset that counter for the process. Also at the very bottom, if you need site assistance, so if you need help with using this web system, if you have a question about how to make it work or how the functionality of it, there's a help desk that you can either call that's there from 8 to 4:30, or click here to actually send an email through your email system for any questions. If you have a question about the content of the questions, then that should be directed to your contact person at the Bureau of Special Ed. But otherwise, if it's about how to actually use the web system, you can call the toll-free number or send an email to that process. So as we said, each section will have a save and go to next section or save and stay on here. So if you're typing a lot, some comments in here and stuff, and you do have to walk away to make sure your information is saved, you can click the save and stay. So it'll save that information and keep you on this screen. So through each area, you'll see you'll have some different questions that you can answer on here. And then after each one, you'll have a comment box that you can put comments in there. So for instance, on number 2, if I say no on there, you can put in a response, and you're not limited to the size of that box. So as you see, as I typed in a few more lines, a scroll bar automatically appeared, so you can actually fit in more information if you needed to for that information. So you would go through and answer the different questions, or in this case, there might just be some open-ended text boxes that you are going to fill out. At the bottom of every screen, you also have the ability to upload any corresponding documents for that. So if you have, in this case, it's looking for the gifted education plan. So if you need to upload that, you can click on that browse and find that plan and double click on that and then click the upload button, and that would actually upload that document as part of that, and it would be available for the Department of Ed to be able to view that, and it will show any documents that you have uploaded in each area below. So now you'll see I have uploaded a sample document, the date that I did that. If by chance you uploaded the wrong document, you have the ability to delete that and upload the right one as well. So that's how you can upload different documents for each area for that process. So when I'm done, as I said, I can do a save and stay if I wanted to keep working on the screen, or I can do a save and go to the next section, which I'm going to do here. It'll take me to the personnel, or as I can use this flyout menu and jump to different areas there. So if I wanted to go to gifted education placement, I could do that as well. So I am going to just walk through a couple of these more questions. As I said, I pre-answered a couple of these already. Same area here where you can answer the different questions that are out there, yes or no, and put comments in for that, for those areas. If I wanted to say jump to the screening and evaluation, I could jump there and go to that area and answer those questions through here. And as you'll see, most of the questions through this process either are yes or no, or they're an open-ended text box for that process. So you would go through each one of these areas and answering the questions. And as I said, as you'll see, each area has a save and go and save and stay. And you'll also notice as I've gone to each section, it resets that timer to 40 minutes for that process. If through part of this process, you've now answered some and you want to actually take a look at the document of what you've answered so far as a PDF or as an all-in-one document, if I click on this FSA Home, it'll bring me back to that first page that we were at when we started the process. So if I wanted to click and generate a draft, under the completing the process, if I click where it says click here, you'll see that I will be able to either generate a draft, or when you're completed, you'll actually be able to submit that document to the state for that process. So to generate a draft, which is under green, so we made it kind of red and green so it really stands out for that process, I'm going to click on the draft and it'll say, are you sure you want to create a draft document? Once I click OK, you'll see then it'll actually generate a draft document down here. So you have a PDF of that. It'll tell you when you last generated that. And the reason we do that is if you've generated a draft and then you've answered some more questions within this process, this draft document won't have that updated information until you generate a new draft document from that process, because that's a snapshot in time of what was in the system at that point that you generated the draft. So I can click on that PDF document and open that up, and it'll actually bring up a draft of everything that I've put in for that. So you'll see it'll have the different sections. You'll see it'll have like the answers on there. It'll have whether you've put in any comments or anything for that process. So kind of walk you through everything that's in that area so you can print it out and have it all in one place. And this is also what the state would see once you submit it to the state at that point. So at any time you can generate that draft, make a PDF, you can print that out and look at it on the process. So the final step after you've gone through all those sections and completely answered those questions is once they're answered, you would have a submit button here in the red area. Once you certify that you're complete and you hit that submit, what'll happen is it'll lock this self-assessment down that you won't be able to change the questions anymore. It'll actually then send an email to the state saying that you've submitted your self-assessment and it's ready for them to review, and they would be able to review all of that information for the process. But until then, you can continue to work on and answer all the different questions in the different sections. At the top, it'll always remind you how many days you have until your self-assessment is due, no matter what page you're on for that process. So that's how you would walk through and answer all your questions for the self-assessment for your gifted monitoring process. Again, that FSA home will always bring you back to this page that you can look at blank versions, generate a draft, generate a final version of it, and submit it to the state, and also where you have your contact information. At the bottom is how much time you have remaining from the screen, and the important numbers of calling the help desk or sending an email to the help desk for your monitoring. So pretty straightforward. And if you've actually went through a special ed monitoring process, you should be pretty familiar with how the site works. It works pretty much the same as that. Obviously, the content's a little different, but the functionality is pretty much the same for the process. So good luck with your self-assessment. The numbers are there. If you have any questions of using the site, obviously this training video will stay up there in case you need to replay it back at any point.